الحمد لله وحده والصلاة والسلام على من لا نبي بعده وعلى آله وصحبه ومن تمسك بسنته إلى يوم الدين وسلم تسليما كثيرا أما بعد. We go for the next 20 minutes inshallah. طيب, it's called كناية عن الطلاق. كناية عن الطلاق. Meaning there are words that necessitate divorce, but it's not a frank divorce. No. طيب, just to sum up everything, based upon the narrations we just mentioned, if the marriage is a fasq, they call this fasq due to aib, or the annulment of the marriage contract because of a aib. The word aib in Arabic language with the ain, aib, the aib can mean a lot of things. It can mean a blemish, it can mean a discrepancy. It's comprehensive. It's a comprehensive word for a lot of meanings. It could mean an ailment in physical stature, or it could be an ailment mentally. It could be a physical ailment. It could be an ailment in sickness. So that word is comprehensive for a lot of ailments and a lot of blemishes. I'll read quickly even what Shaykh Uthaymeen mentioned in this regard. He said, إذا كان الفسخ للعيب. Now this is a question to the sisters. What if a person now finds a blemish, meaning on both sides, it doesn't matter. The sister might find something in the husband, or the husband might find something in the woman. If the fasq, if one now seeks an annulment because of a blemish or what have you, or whatever it is, if that happens before they're alone with each other or before he consummates, does he have to give her the dowry or not? Ahsant. The sister said he does not have to. And that's correct. If he's not alone with her and he did not consummate, there is no dowry. Is there iddah? Ahsant. There is no iddah. Jayyid. وإذا كان بعد الدخول. طيب, for now, let's just say after consummation and after him being alone. Then there will be what? There is a dowry now. طيب. So if the man now will have to give the dowry, who will he now take his case up with? The case would be taken up with the one who fooled him. Listen to the details. It would be taken up with the case with the one who fooled him. If it was the wali, then it will be taken up with him. Because usually he's the one that's responsible, the wali, the one in the family. Especially the father, the brother. They usually know, in most cases, a lot of different ailments or blemishes or what have you. In certain cases they do, in certain cases they don't. But in most cases, the father and or the uncle or the son, or excuse me, not the son, but usually the brother, or the brother, they would know some of the ailments of the woman, which he would have to clarify to the man who wants to marry her. طيب, let's just say now the wali didn't know. Like the wali did not know about that particular ailment or that particular mental sickness or mental health, whatever it is. He didn't know. However, the woman knew. So now, in that case, he would take it up with the who? It would be taken up with the woman. طيب, فإن لم تعلم المرأة مثل إن كان برص في ظهرنا. Let's just say that the woman didn't know of a particular ailment. Let's just say she had that blemish on her back and she never realized it was there. And she did not disclose to anyone about it. Let's just say in this particular instance, we'll say that no one is blameworthy. If the wali didn't know and she didn't know of a certain blemish or a certain sickness, then no one is blameworthy. Why? Because he wasn't fooled here. Because no one knew. Is it clear what I'm saying so far, everyone? So he wasn't fooled here. So he doesn't take it up with anyone. So that's the qa'idah, that's the principle. In what they call mas'alat al-fasakh bil-aib, the affair of annulment of the marriage due to a aib, due to we just said it's a comprehensive word, it can mean a lot of meaning. Aib, tayyib. Now, what is a person? Is there any type of certain specific ailment that can cause an annulment of the marriage? Can they be huge? Can they be small or whatever? Can they be something? Are they something bounded? Or are they something restricted to a certain type? Ahl al-Ilm mentioned in this regard, they say, no, they could be what? They're vast, or whatever, dependent on what the husband and what the wife or the woman can tolerate. Certain people can what? Tolerate certain things. Certain people cannot tolerate certain things. So we say in regards to what aib can be, if it's physicality, or if it's mentally, or if it's a physical ailment, a facial ailment, whatever it is. If it's disclosed, or if it's made clear to the one who's engaged in the marital engagement or what have you, then he has or she has the choice now. So it doesn't necessarily have to now. It has nothing to do with now validity of the marriage. The marriage would be valid, but as long as they knew and they were upon clarity of what they were getting themselves into, then they have the choice. They can now either marry the person, or if they found out after the marriage, they have the choice. So the man now have grounds, or a woman has the grounds if one finds out about something that the other did not know. So that's the reason why we said in this regard, that is. Now, when we want to say, just to sum up everything, how is this connected to what we're discussing? Meaning the chapter of adequacy and choice. Why? Because here is given the spouses the choice to the matter, in the particular matter, to what? To either continue the marriage or to what? Or to annul it. And like we said, I tell brothers and sisters to remind them, sisters and brothers, be middle course in these matters. And like we said, everybody is different. We know that everyone's a human being, and during the time of the Prophet ﷺ, this happened to one of the Sahabiyat, to one of the great companions who were women. The woman said to the Messenger of Allah in one narration, she said, and that was the first khula' in Islam. I'm sure that everyone's familiar with the story of the first khula' in Islam, when the Prophet ﷺ told the woman to turn the hadiqah back to her husband. Return the garden back to him, or the dowry back to him. That she said to him what did she say? She said, there's nothing wrong with his religion. There's nothing wrong with what he does as far as religiously, anything. But she could not stand to look at him. She couldn't stand to look at him, meaning she wasn't attracted to him. And to the point where she thought in her mind, she knew in herself, that if she would stay to him, she would become disobedient to Allah and His Messenger. Basically, she would fall into sin. So that happened during the time of the Prophet ﷺ. And they're the best of humanity. After all the prophets and messengers, the Sahaba, from women and men, the Sahabiyat, and the companions from the men, are the best of creation. And they gave the best example. But alhamdulillah, we have these texts authentically reported to us to let us know we still could be what? Human beings. And human beings know what they can tolerate and what they cannot tolerate. So they know as a result of it, they'll be able to fulfill the rights of their spouse. So there will not be any oppression that will be done on each side. Because in the marriage, one has to do and carry out his best and utmost effort in what? Trying to make the other satisfied. And one wants to feel emotionally secure, and they want to be physically and also likewise mentally secure and also feel wanted. Every human being wants to feel that the other spouse is attracted to him, right or wrong? Or that could cause a lot of problems. The people are human beings. And no one should say, oh, you need to just deal with it, marry her for the religion. All those statements are baseless. But however, still we need to be middle course, not to be extreme. Like we said, keep and stay in the middle, brothers and sisters. Don't take it now and say, well, based upon that, I can, get out here what I want. And, I'm just going to marry what I want. I say, Akhi, just be middle course. Don't now start going to the opposite side of the extreme, where now you're trying to find a woman that's absolutely flawless. And just like none of us men, none of us are flawless in our physical caliber and in a lot of aspects. A lot of us are not flawless. All of us have some type of blemishes. Also, all of us have some type of discrepancies. And some of us have insecurities about ourselves that we want the other to be patient with. Nobody's perfect. Not physically, not mentally, not even in their character. Everybody has a flaw. So that's the reason why we saying to everyone what? Be middle course in this matter. We're not saying go to the opposite extreme to where you marry someone what? That's not to your liking. We're not saying that. Nor go to the opposite side of the extreme where you what? Looking for the most flawless individual out there. Keep it in the middle course. Because like we said, all of us eventually are going to get old, and all of us are not going to be the same as far as in our physical appearance, and all of us are going to eventually, our bodies change. That's the nature of human beings. As they get older and older, they're going to change. So that's the reason why they're what? We keep it and say middle course. So we're not going to be too far to the left, nor too far to the right. And like we said, that narration when the Prophet ﷺ had legislated that hukum for the first khula' in Islam, that shows that what? That shows that attraction does has its place in our religion. Because she said, I couldn't stand to look at him. She said that she was a sahabiyah. And we know that Allah praised all of them, and all of them will be in paradise. And despite of that, she said, I'm not attracted to him. I'm going to fall into sin if I stay with him. And despite of that, the message of Allah, what? He granted it to her. He said, okay, that's the issue. So-and-so returned the garden, now turn the diary back to him, return his garden back to him. Which is to let us know that it does have its place. But not to be what? Too extreme in these affairs. Was it clear, everyone? However, if a man does find a certain blemish on a woman, or likewise a woman finds a blemish on a man, he did not disclose it to the best of their ability, and we keep telling and emphasizing these sit-downs with brothers and sisters, make sure you are clear with what is going on with you. Whether it be a mental sickness, whether it be a physical sickness, whether it be something in your body, and I discussed last week about the tattoos, all of that. Just make it clear. I'm not saying that as far as in the aspects of, oh, I'm not going to disclose that. No. There's certain men out there that wouldn't mind a tattoo. There's certain men out there that do mind it. Like I know a couple of brothers that said, I don't like to look at a woman with the tattoos. I can't. There's certain men that don't mind that. And the opposite. There's certain women out there that said, I don't like men with a bunch of tattoos. I don't like a man to have a tattoo on his face. I don't like that. I can't even look at that. And certain women wouldn't mind it. Everybody's different. But everything has to be what? Made clear at the sit-downs of what he or she is bringing to the table. So everyone can be satisfied and they can have a good marriage. And they can have their rights fulfilled. Because like I said, there's no one out here except they want to be in their marriage feeling like their husband or spouse likes them and wants to touch them and wants to be wanted. Everybody wants that in their marriage. That's part of the happiness and the bliss that Allah has made in our marriages for us to be happy in it. So the next narration of what Sa'id ibn Musayyib, when he thought of Umar al-Khattab, he said that any man, we already read the narration, we could just jump right into it. As far as in the sadaq, when it says in the narration of baras, so it does mention it again. Any man that finds a woman, barsa, meaning it's a type of skin blemish, where it's that pigmentation has been, that discoloration or that lack of pigmentation in the skin, which is called baras, and I think, like he said, they translate it as a leopard. He says that any man finds that, or he finds that she's majduna, meaning she's not in a state where she has her mind. Maybe she basically, just to sum it up, she's crazy. Which majduma, meaning musaba bil judam, meaning that she has a skin disorder called judam. Judam is like I said, it's like a bunch of scabs that accumulates on the body. It's kind of like somewhat of a plague in certain instances. And it also can kill. If one is not careful, he is to have it treated. It's called scamby mange or something to that effect. But I've seen that, where people have a bunch of scabs on their body, and that's what happened with Prophet Ayyub. Prophet Ayyub, alayhi salatu wasalam, they said his body filled up with scabs. So the only thing that was left of what was intact was his tongue and his heart. And his wife still was patient with that. And that's part of the story what happened with Ayyub, alayhi salatu wasalam. But at any rate, what is incumbent upon the ulama now, yalzam al-imam, now, what a person would do, if this was the case, if we was living in an Islamic country, of course, they would take it to the judge or the ruler, or one of his delegates, such as the actual judge in the courts. This could be a reason, like we said, for annulment of the marriage, no doubt. This could be for any of these ailments and the other ailments that are mentioned. And we said in the last hadith that just preceded, the same thing. What applies to that one applies to this one. Whoever has been fooled, then he has to take it up with what? The one who fooled him. But if the woman, like we said, if he was alone, now if he was alone with her, she still what? She deserves the dowry. And if he consummated, then she deserves the dowry in full. If it was before that, like we said, then there is no what? No dowry, and there's no iddah. If he was not alone with her, nor was he what? Nor if he was intimate with her. So the same narration of here applies. And like we said, a aib, a blemish or whatever, it now legislates for fasq, an annulment or dissolvement or abrogation of the what? Of the marriage. If the man did not know about it or the woman did not know about it, or if it's not clarified, and all those other details that we gave in the prior lesson that we mentioned. The next narration, and we'll stop inshallah. It says, روى سعيد أيضا عن علي. He says, وبها قرن وزوجها بالخيار فإن مسها فلها المهر بما استحل من فرجها. What's the meaning of the word qarn? I think it's translated in your books. It's a type of, it was a cultural practice which has nothing to do with the religion. It's something they do in certain countries where they sew up the woman's private part. They'll sew it up. In certain countries and certain practices, they remove the actual hymen, or they remove the actual part of the woman's private part. They'll remove it, or they'll sew it up, or what have you. Which is something, like we said, it has nothing to do with the religion absolutely whatsoever. And here in this narration it says, عبارة عن ورم يكون في فرج المرأة فيمنع الوطء. For example, it's a type of tumor or something big that's in the private part of the woman that it prevents intimacy. And as we know, anything that prevents intimacy, it goes against one of the head reasons of why marriage has been legislated, right everyone? So as a reason, and that is from the most greatest of intents of nikah. So now you'll find in this particular author of Ali ibn Abi Talib, we talked about the aib of the different discrepancies that take place that a person can annul the marriage. He mentioned some of them, but here he added on another type. And this is just another example. That a woman could be what they call qarna. That she has that qarn, or she has that type of tumor or some type of lump, where that it will what? It will prevent a man from being intimate. And that's also a type of uyub or blemish, or some type of discrepancy, that likewise it could be considered a reason for annulment, if the man does not know about it. And like we just said, Ahl Ilm say that it is not restricted to a certain number. Anything that causes what they call nufrah. Nufrah, meaning that will cause one of the two spouses not to like the other, as far as in the physical aspect of it, or the mental, whatever. Or what's going to cause some type of problem in the marriage, in the relationship. It's going to cause some type of problems. If it's going to cause the problems and a person cannot, let's just say, for example, even Shaykh Uthaymeen mentioned this. He says, anything, كل ما ينفر أحد الزوجين عن صاحبه خلقة, he can say, or خلقيا. He says anything that will cause one of the two spouses, that will cause a discrepancy in the relationship between them, either in one's etiquette and behavior, meaning it could be a mental sickness, it could be what? In that aspect. Or it could be khuluqi. And it could be in the physicality, or it could be inwardly, mentally, or in the person's what? In the person's, in his mental, or in their behavior, or what have you. For example, he gives an example. He said, فَلَوْ وَجَدَهَا سَرِيعَةَ الْغَضَبِ أو وجدته سريع الغضب فهذا ليس بعيب ولكن إذا كان خلقة العمى عيب الصمم عيب على قول صحيح الخرس عيب العرجاء عيب ولكن العرج البين مقطوعة الأصابع تنأنف. He said, however, for example, let's just say a person has something of behavior, or whatever, or what have you. He says it could be an aib if it leads to something of violence. But let's just say if it's a particular small flaw, then a person can try to be patient with that. But however, in the aspect of the physical nature, let's just say, for example, she's blind. That could be considered a blemish, depending on the tolerance of the person. Or, for example, a person being deaf, that's considered an aib. Or a person that's khalas, they can't speak, that's an aib. Or them being crippled, that's an aib. All those are aib, meaning that it's clear. Or a person might be mutilated to the end of it. For anything that it causes some type of discrepancy in the relationship, then like we said, it could be considered from this type in which we're talking about. If it's going to cause some type where the rights of the marriage is not fulfilled, where one would not be able to fulfill the other due to it. Just to sum it up. And the last narration is on the Tariq al-Sa'id al-Musayyib. We'll try to finish up the chapter because I wanted to finish it up, and we'll actually concluded the chapter. By the narration of Sa'id al-Musayyib, rahimahullah, that he said that Umar al-Khattab said of the man who's inneen, a man who's inneen, that wait for him, he's given a chance of a year. He's given a chance of the year. What is the word inneen? I talked about this before, right everyone? The man who has what they call unna. Unna is where he's not able to perform sexually. Al-inneen, the one who's not able to perform sexually or be intimate. Meaning, he says, لِأَنَّهُ لَا يَنْتَشِرْ مَعَهُ مِثْلُ هَدِيَةِ الثَّوْبِ Al-inneen. He said the man is not able to perform, meaning he does not have an erection. That's the meaning of the word unna. Unna. He said that Umar al-Khattab gave the hukum of a year, a complete year, where 4 seasons will pass by. Why did Umar al-Khattab says that he's giving a year? He's saying this because he says, because he said there's sometimes, and everyone take this serious. I don't want no one to laugh. I don't want nobody to be like or laugh under their breath. We're being serious, because this does happen in relationships. Because this has been asked from me. Certain females have asked me this. What do I do? And so this does happen. And then if you laugh, we ask Allah that you not be tested with this, because that's a fitna. It is. So, why did Umar al-Khattab say that? Why did Umar al-Khattab say wait a year? He said he meaning that give 4 seasons. Because some men during certain seasons are a little bit more sexually inclined than other seasons. You understand what I'm saying, everyone? That in summertime it might be more, than in the fall might be less, or what have you. So basically the 4 seasons is giving him an opportunity to what? Give him as a chance to do what he's supposed to do, basically. But however, these 4 seasons now that pass by, and he still does not perform, this is an indication that he has now a afa. He has now a aib. فَلِهَذَا أَجَّلَهُ عُمَرْ. So Umar gave him a full year. هِلَالِيَّة وَلَيْسَتْ شَمْسِيَّة. يعني المعتبر في الشرع الأهلة. Take in consideration the position of the moon, of course. Some of the fuqaha, we don't have to get inside of that different. I don't want to throw everyone off. طيب. So if the illah goes by these 4 seasons. So basically Umar al-Khattab is saying based upon the seasons. Of course we said one is more intimate than certain other seasons. He said this happens to certain men, of course. So in this case, he said he waits within that season. If he does, then he's fulfilled, of course, the obligation. If that the 4 seasons now, which is a year, passes by and still nothing, then this could be a reason, like we said, of what? Of an annulment of the marriage. If the woman wants so. She has the choice. She can either stay, be patient, or she has the choice to what? She has the choice to annul the marriage. So she has the what? The alternative. So everything is connected with what we said in the chapter, that of alternative and choice and adequacy, it goes back to that. I'll read quickly what Shaykh Uthaymeen mentioned, and we'll stop the lesson. It says, مَتَّى ثَبَتَ أَنَّهُ وَطَأَ هَذِهِ الْمَرْأَةِ مَرَّةً وَاحِدَةً فَلَا عُنَّ. He said, it's been established that he was intimate with this woman one time within those seasons, of course. This shows that he still has the ability, and that there is no, I think they call it impotency, if I'm not mistaken. There is no unna, that he's capable, basically. What is correct is that unna ربما تحدث ولكن إذا حدثت فإما أن تعلم عدم رجوع القدرة الوطء وإما أن تؤمل الرجوع. For example, a man that's, for example now, let's just say that he was in an accident. Even though before that accident he was able to be sexual or intimate. Before the accident. Then something happened. Then the accident might have caused where he's not able now. What's the correct opinion, brothers and sisters, in this regard? Does a woman now have the alternative to say, this is a basis for me for divorce? What would it go back to? What does a woman do? They say that firstly, to go back to the doctors, to the trustworthy doctors. If the incapability now takes place and it happened after, if the doctor says now, just wait a minute, just give it a chance, give it an opportunity, don't rush and don't hasten to being hasty. To just, khalas, I want it done, I want it over with, I'm moving on to something new. That's what a lot of us do. Not to take into consideration that maybe something might happen to you one day. You will want someone to be patient or have mercy on you. Because it happens. It goes back to the woman. It goes back to the man. It goes back to the tolerance and the patience of the person. If the person feels like they're going to fall into sin, then of course, by all means, then of course, like we said in this instance, that she can what? Or he and she can nullify the marriage or ask for annulment, if it's the woman. Or she could be patient. So it goes back to her choice or his choice. That's not a problem with me. I'll be patient. Inshallah, they'll be good. And I'll be patient. I'll hang in there. So that's what we sum up in regards to this narration. I'll also read quickly what Sheikh Salih Fawzan mentioned, and we'll conclude the actual chapter. We finish it. He says, Al-Qarn, firstly he talks about the actual type of tumor or some type of lump of what some women have. He said that type of lump and what they call inneen, meaning that a man is not able to perform. He says, whereas he does not have an erection. He said that Umar al-Khattab said this is considered an aib. Why? Because it's from the greatest of the intention of nikah, is that one indulges in some type of halal pleasure, and also likewise that it keeps the two spouses from falling into something. It keeps them chaste and protected from falling into something haram. And that's why the Messenger of Allah said clearly in hadith, those from the youth who is able, let him marry, for verily it will allow one to lower his gaze, and it will protect him and be a fortification for his private part. So this is from the greatest of intents of marriage, is to keep everyone chaste, from not falling into something abominable. فَإِذَا كَانَ الزَّوْجُ عِنِّينًا. Now if the spouse is inneen, he says, لَا يَحْصُلُ الْمَرْأَ الْمَقْصُودَ الْأَعْظَمِ. Now it doesn't occur for the woman one of the intentions of marriage. So now Umar al-Khattab gave this ruling that he's waited 4 seasons where he's being patient, and if these 4 seasons pass and this state has not changed, and this is the case, he said then, like we said, لِأَنَّ بَعْضَ النَّاسِ قَدْ يَفْتُرْ فِي بَعْضِ الْفُصُولِ يَنْشُطْ. Because it's known, he says, that certain people during certain seasons, they're able to be active certain seasons, and they kind of are lacked in certain seasons, and that's the reason why he gave this type of time period. But if it doesn't change, then it indicates that there is it's a certain problem that has been now been affirmed. And he said that this could cause a harm to the woman. For that reason, she has the choice. So after a year, she can now say that she can opt to be out, or she can she can remain patient. And she can either stay in a marriage and just be patient with that sickness or whatever he has. So is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? Fine. And that's the intent. I didn't want to get inside. There's some a little bit of khilaf. I wanted to keep it simple. But I just keep it the way it is. Keep it right there. Keep it clear. طيب. So that concludes now the chapter of nikah. We finished it. The whole chapter of nikah is done. Inshallah, next class I'm going to try to discuss with the sisters to see what could be good for them and what will be as something we could start on the next type of chapter or some benefit. If the sisters want, we could continue right into the next chapter if they want. Or if not, then we could talk about something else. We'll try to figure it out for next Sunday. Was there any questions about the lesson? Sisters? Tafadhal. You mean we was talking about the last narration before the salat? That was one of the answers. That was one of the reasons that Tirmidhi and the majority of the scholars had said to those who say that the man can resume the marriage even though the iddah is over. That's one of the answers they asked. Fine, when is the iddah over? When is it over? Here it says 6 years. All right, when? 8 years, 10 years, 15, when? That's what I'm saying. There's no answer. That's one of the answers that they said to, for example, to Shaykh al-Islam and Ibn al-Qayyim. That was one of the arguments. You get what I'm saying, sister? Your question was an argument. That was one of the, I shouldn't say argument, but that was one of the questions that was asked. Tayyib, if you're saying that the man can now resume his marriage, let's just say, for example, now a man was not Muslim. Sister became Muslim, the iddah's over. So now, after the iddah's over, he became Muslim. He walks in the house, hey, babe, I'm back. Let's go. You're still my wife. You're still under my responsibility. The woman would look like, okay. You understand what I'm saying? So now that's like, okay, well, what you mean? Your iddah's not over. I can have this narration. We can resume the marriage. You still my wife? Because you all that time, basically, you want to say you was still under my what? My responsibility. So that was one of the arguments that's why the Jumhur is saying this. Like, when's the iddah over? So now you basically restricted the options of the woman. You restricted her options. So now she would either now just have to resume the marriage if he became Muslim, of course. If he became Muslim, she would have to now go back to him. Let's just say she don't want to go back to him. I found out my ex-husband from before I was Muslim became Muslim now. So that means now I have to go back to him. He calls up, I want my wife back. So automatically she has to what? Go back. So that's one of the answers that basically what Sheikh Arafat was saying with what the majority from that was Tirmidhi was asking. So what do we do in this regard? You restricted the options of the woman now. So now she will have to go back if he became Muslim, even though the iddah was over. But however, if we say now she has to go back to him with a new marriage contract, that now gives her what? An option. To either what? If she has a desire to go back to her former husband, she has that option. Or let's just say she don't want to. I want to marry some other, a Muslim man, whatever. Then she would marry another man and have that option. So it keeps it now open, where she's comfortable, where it gives her a cushion now, where she's not forced to do anything. Is it clear what I'm saying, sister? So that's what we were saying. Any other questions? Any other questions about the lessons? He just run by here. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله. I'll give the 10 points to tonight's class because we don't have that much time.